Megazone 23 is not as well known as some other examples of anime cyberpunk, even where the 80s is concerned. It is the first of a trilogy of features, although Megazone 23 is thoroughly worth watching for anyone into this particular continuum of science fiction films. Impressively animated, quite consistently imaginative, and very thoroughly enjoyable. I think this film is a guaranteed good time for many of its prospective audience, almost any viewer who is drawn to it. I presume the first of the cyberpunk animations in the world of feature filmmaking. It precedes Neo Tokyo, Akira, and AD Police Files. There may be a series which precedes it that I'm not familiar with. However, and it was a rich continuum that also included works like the slightly later Cyber City, Oedo 808, Download Devil's Circuit, Genocyber, two Megazone 23 sequels, both features. Ghost in the Shell, Rintaro's Metropolis, a film called Parasite Dolls. It's a three-part OVA, I think, more so. The Animatrix, Ghost in the Shell 2, Resistance, Linklater's A Scanner Darkly film, and Paprika by Satoshi Kon. I'll never understand the snooty response that some sci-fi fans in the West, or at least the English-speaking world, felt towards anime works. I think one issue was the terrible dubs, but you don't find dubs of your anime much anymore, and when you do, hell, they are of a much higher quality than they used to be, even if they are not preferred, at least for my viewings. It was quite potentially a Gen X thing, mostly based out of and on a hatred of the Japanese, subconsciously I would assume, a disgust toward otakus in the English-speaking world, which, fine, you would have your reasons, many of us do, and a bias against animation versus live-action films, which I've never quite well understood. Do I get a preference for live-action films? Sure, it's a preference, it's up to the viewer, no question. But animation can do so many things which live-action films can struggle to conjure the effective illusion of. If Megazone 23 was live-action, closer to Blade Runner, overdrawn at the memory bank, Kamikaze 1989, The Terminator, The Running Man, Robocop Crime Zone, Tetsuo the Iron Man, Total Recall, Free Jack, Fortress, Brain Scan, Strange Days, Existence with the Matrix, would these same people dislike it to the same extent, we believe? Of course they would not. Their hatred of weebs and of this world in general knows little to no bounds. They complain about everything not being the first, 5 sci-fi works they were exposed to. They can go fuck right off, having no imagination or appreciation of a genre that is reliant on it is to be concerned. One of the more unsung trilogies in film history, featuring futuristic technology, flippy old-school anime physics, city pop, and some clips which you might recognize from some slow-to-reverb remixes on the YouTube. Proto-Akira bravura and brimming of fervent enthusiasm. Megazone 23 will please everyone except squares who don't want to like it because they think they're above it or because they didn't see it at a young enough age and can't be like, nah, it's my childhood, bro. Your childhood is lame. If your life peaked before the age of 10, I don't know what to tell you. I remember driving around with friends, frolicking around with girls on the university campus, completing a feature film or 7, and living out of home where I could do whatever I want, and thinking, why do people think it peaks with childhood and adolescence, then? I was answered by some, those people are naive. It peaks in your 20s. Oh, I said. Now I am 29. I'm hoping it doesn't go too downhill from here. I like to think I'll have an early to mid-30s writing renaissance like K-punk did during the 2000s, but that might entail a ruthless depression as well, one which I hopefully don't have to burden on anyone else around me if I can avoid it, or I'd be tempted to if it makes me a better writer, or filmmaker too. You don't have to like Megazone 23, but don't pretend you're above it, animation or animes. Above otakus and weebs? Maybe. But you know what? Here's what I'll say about the so-called otakus and weebs. They don't care what anyone else thinks of them. Let me repeat that. They don't care what anyone else thinks of them. This is a more admirable trait than any of the traits evident in their bitter haters. I will not deny that. And making a costume of their favourite character is more of an accomplishment than their detractors will ever even consider pursuing for themselves. Those slightly socially awkward types who dress up loudly for the conventions, the cosplay enthusiasts, their carefree, social norms be damned attitude, you gotta love them. You gotta admire them. At least a lot more than the nasty, insecure, please don't bully me world types who bravely ridicule them over the computer from the comforts of their own home. Who's the real loser by that crass logic of winners and losers? If you're one of these ridiculers and you now feel bad, I'm glad. Bullies deserve a period of misery prior to their potential redemption. Maybe a viewing of Megazone 23 will make you feel better. It's never too late to expose yourself to this riveting, stirring classic, a seminal accomplishment in the history of cyberpunk animation and maybe just anime films in general.